The alien ship appeared over New York City without warning. It was massive, larger than 3 city blocks put together. Its dark metal surface reflected no light, making it look like a hole cut out of the sky. People stopped in the streets and pointed upward. Cars crashed as drivers forgot to watch the road. Jake Morrison stood in the Pentagon War Room, watching the news feeds from around the world. Similar ships had appeared over every major city on Earth: London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing. All had the same dark visitors hanging in their skies, like storm clouds. "Sir, we're getting a transmission," said Lieutenant Peters, his hands shaking as he worked the radio controls. The main screen flickered to life. The creature that appeared was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like old leather. Its eyes were black pools without any white showing. When it spoke, its voice was like grinding metal. "I am Ambassador Krylix of the Vorthic Empire. Your species will surrender immediately. You have 72 hours to comply." Jake felt his stomach drop. This was really happening. After decades of wondering if Earth was alone in the universe, the answer had come in the worst possible way. The alien continued speaking. "We have conquered 47 worlds before yours. Each believed they could resist. Each was wrong. Your weapons are primitive. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Surrender now, and your people will be allowed to serve the Empire. Resist, and your world will be reduced to ash." The transmission ended. The war room fell silent, except for the hum of computers and a distant sound of sirens from the city. "Get me the president," Jake said. His voice was steady, but his hands were clenched into fists. Within an hour, the emergency meeting was underway. President Richard Stone sat at the head of a long table in an underground bunker deep beneath Washington. Around him sat the leaders of the free world, connected by secure video links from their own bunkers. "The situation is clear," said the president. "We have 3 days to decide the fate of our species." "What choice do we have?" asked the British Prime Minister. "You saw their ships. They're enormous. We can't fight technology like that." Jake stood up from his chair. "With respect, sir, we don't know what they're really capable of. All we've seen are ships hovering in our sky. For all we know, this could be a bluff." "A bluff?" The French president's voice cracked. "Admiral Morrison, those ships are the size of aircraft carriers, and they're floating in the air like balloons. What more proof do you need?" Dr. Lisa Kane, Earth's top expert on the possibility of alien life, had been quiet during the discussion. Now she cleared her throat. "There's something we need to consider about their psychology." All eyes turned to her. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her voice carried authority that made everyone listen. "They gave us 3 days," she said. "Why? If they're as powerful as they claim, why not just attack immediately? The fact that they're trying to intimidate us suggests they want to avoid a fight." "Or they're just being merciful," said the German Chancellor. "Mercy?" Dr. Kane shook her head. "They said they've conquered 47 worlds. Does that sound merciful to you?" "No, there's another reason. They want us to surrender, because fighting us would cost them something they don't want to lose." President Stone leaned forward. "What are you saying, Doctor?" "I'm saying they're afraid of something. Maybe not afraid of losing, but afraid of paying a price they'd rather avoid. Every species they've conquered before probably had something we don't, or lacked something we have." Jake felt a spark of hope. "What could we have that scares them?" "Desperation," Dr. Kane replied. "Most advanced civilizations probably value their lives too much to fight a hopeless battle. They see the superior technology and surrender to save themselves. But humans, we have a history of fighting, even when we know we can't win." The room was quiet as everyone thought about this. Throughout human history, there had always been those who chose to fight impossible battles. Sometimes they even won. There's something else, Dr. Kane continued. They called our technology primitive. But how do they know? Have they been watching us? If so, for how long? And what exactly have they seen? Jake's mind was racing. You think they might not know everything about us? I think they know what they've observed from space. Our cities, our obvious military bases, our public technology. But there's a lot about human civilization that isn't visible from orbit. President Stone stood up slowly. He looked around the table at the faces of Earth's leaders. Some looked hopeful, others terrified, but all were waiting for his decision. I've made my choice, he said. We will not surrender. The British Prime Minister's face went pale. Richard, you're talking about the extinction of our species. Maybe, the President replied. But I'd rather we go extinct fighting than live. As slaves. Besides, Dr. Kane is right. These aliens don't know everything about us. They think they're dealing with just another primitive world, but they've never met humans before. Jake felt a grim smile cross his face. The aliens had made one critical mistake. They had given humanity 3 days to prepare. 3 days was longer than it had taken to win some wars. It was certainly long enough to show the galaxy what humans were really capable of. Send the reply, President Stone ordered. Tell them Earth's answer is no. As the meeting broke up, Jake stayed behind to speak with the President privately. Sir, he said, if we're really going to do this, there are some things you need to know. Things that have been classified above your clearance level. President. Stone raised an eyebrow. Above my clearance level? I'm the President, yes, sir. But some secrets have been kept by people who answer to no government. People who have been preparing for this day since before you were born. The President stared at him. What are you talking about, Admiral? Jake took a deep breath. I'm talking about humanity's real military, the one the aliens haven't seen yet, the one that's been waiting in the shadows for 70 years, just hoping someone would be stupid enough to threaten Earth. Outside, the alien ships continued to hover over the world cities. They were waiting for humanity's surrender, confident that it would come. After all, it always had before. They had no idea that Earth's answer would change the galaxy forever. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in tunnels that didn't appear on any map, General Frank Miller walked through corridors that had been carved from solid rock decades before he was born. The sound of his boots echoed off walls that were lined with metal doors, each one hiding secrets that could change the world. How long has this place existed? President Stone asked, struggling to keep up with the general's quick pace. Construction began in 1947, Frank replied without slowing down. Right after the Roswell incident. Turns out that wasn't a weather balloon after all. They reached a massive blast door that looked like it belonged on a bank vault. Frank placed his hand on a scanner, and the door began to slowly open with a deep rumbling sound. Welcome to Project Nightfall, Frank said. President Stone stepped through the doorway and stopped breathing. He was standing on a balcony overlooking a cavern so large he couldn't see the far end. Below him stretched rows of spacecraft that looked nothing like anything humans had ever built publicly. They were sleek and dark, with curves that seemed to bend light around them. My God, the President whispered. How many ships are down there? This is just Facility 7, Frank said. We have 12 locations like this around the world, each one bigger than the last. On the cavern floor, thousands of people moved between the spacecraft like ants. They wore black uniforms with no identifying marks. Some were loading weapons that hummed with strange energy. Others were performing maintenance on engines that glowed with blue light. Who are these people? President Stone asked. They're volunteers from every nation on Earth, people who gave up their normal lives to prepare for this day. Their families think they work for various government agencies. In reality, they've been training to fight aliens since they were teenagers. Amy. Brooks climbed out of the cockpit of her ship and removed her helmet. She had been flying test missions in the underground caverns for 5 years, but today felt different. Today was real. Her ship, the USS Vengeance, was 40 meters long and shaped like a dagger. Its hull was made from metal that had been recovered from crashed alien scouts. The engines used technology that human scientists had spent decades reverse engineering. All systems green, she reported to her ground crew. Weapons are charged and ready, the chief mechanic nodded. You're the first to launch, Captain. Make it count. Amy looked up at the ceiling of the cavern, where massive doors were beginning to open for the first time in 70 years. Beyond those doors was a shaft that went straight up through the mountain, hidden from satellite observation by careful engineering. Meanwhile, in an underwater facility off the coast of California, Steve Carter was making final preparations for his own mission. His fighter was smaller than Amy's ship, but it carried experimental weapons that even the other Black Project pilots didn't know about. Quantum phase drive is online, he reported to Control. Stealth systems are active. His ship was designed to slip between dimensions, becoming invisible to normal sensors. The technology was dangerous. 3 test pilots had vanished completely during development, lost somewhere between realities. But it worked. You have authorization to begin combat patrol, came the reply from Control. Remember, the aliens think we're primitive. Let's keep them thinking that until it's too late. Steve's fighter rose through a tube that was disguised as an oil drilling platform. To anyone watching from space, it would look like normal industrial activity. They had no idea that Earth's most advanced weapons were emerging from hiding. Dr. Helen Parks stood in her laboratory, surrounded by devices that glowed with unnatural light. She had spent her entire career developing weapons that other scientists sighed were impossible. Gravity bombs that could crush a ship into a ball of metal. Energy fields that could stop time itself. Weapons that attacked targets in parallel dimensions. Are you sure about this? Her assistant asked nervously. Some of these things, they're dangerous even to us. Helen nodded grimly. The Galactic Council banned this technology after the Andromedans used it to destroy an entire star system. They called it too dangerous to exist. Then why are we using it? Because we're not part of their council. We never agreed to their rules. And right now, dangerous is exactly what we need. She activated a device that looked like a simple metal sphere. Immediately, everything in the room became heavier. Test. Objects on her workbench began to crack under their own weight. Artificial gravity manipulation, she explained. Dial it up high enough, and you can create a black hole anywhere you want. Back in the mountain facility, President Stone was getting a tour of humanity's secret arsenal. Frank showed him weapons that fired projectiles at near-light speed. Ships that could travel faster than light using principles that weren't supposed to exist. Computers that thought faster than human brains and had been studying alien tactics for decades. How is this possible? The president asked. The budget for something like this would be enormous. It's been funded through black budgets from every major nation, Frank explained. Money that officially goes to things like highway maintenance and agricultural research. Plus, we've had some help from crashes over the years. The aliens have been scouting us longer than they think we know. They reached another observation deck, this one overlooking a different type of preparation. Below them, soldiers were training, with weapons that fired beams of pure energy. Others were learning to pilot mechs that stood 30 feet tall. These people have been preparing their entire lives for this war, Frank said. Their parents prepared before them. Their grandparents helped build this place. We've had 3 generations getting ready for the day someone would threaten Earth. But how did you know this would happen? Frank smiled grimly. We didn't know when, but we knew it would happen eventually. A universe is a big place, and not everything in it is friendly. The question was never if we'd meet hostile aliens. The question was whether we'd be ready when we did. On the surface, the alien ships continued to hover over Earth's cities. Their sensors showed them a primitive world with basic nuclear weapons and simple rockets. They saw no threat, no reason to worry. They couldn't see the network of underground bases. They couldn't detect the ships that were phasing in and out of normal space. They had no idea that their own crashed scouts had been teaching humanity their weaknesses for 70 years. Phase 1 is complete, Amy reported from her ship as it emerged from the mountain. All stealth systems are working. I'm invisible to their sensors. Copy that, Vengeance, came the reply from command. You are cleared for reconnaissance. Get us close-up intelligence on their ships. Amy's ship slipped silently through space, using technology that bent light and radio waves around it. She approached the massive alien vessel hovering over New York, close enough to see the details of its hull. This is incredible, she whispered into her radio. Their armor is exactly like the samples we recovered from the crashes. Our weapons should cut through it like paper. Confirmed, Vengeance. All units are authorized to move to Phase 2. Around the world, humanity's hidden fleet began to emerge from their hiding places. Ships rose from underground bases from underwater. Facilities from installations hidden inside mountains and beneath deserts. Each one was invisible to alien sensors. Each one carried weapons designed specifically to kill the ships hovering above Earth cities. The aliens had given humanity 3 days to surrender. They had no idea that those 3 days were exactly how long it took for Earth's real military to fully activate. The war was about to begin, and the aliens were about to learn why threatening Earth was the worst mistake they had ever made. Frank Miller stood in his command center, watching screens that showed the positions of every human ship. After 70 years of preparation, Project Nightfall was finally going live. All units, this is command. He spoke into his microphone. You are authorized to engage. Show them what happens when someone threatens the human race. The galaxy was about to discover that Earth had never been defenseless. It had just been waiting for someone stupid enough to attack it. Admiral Zelthron stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the primitive world below through massive viewing screens. Earth looked peaceful from space, with white clouds swirling over blue oceans. It was hard to believe this small planet was about to become the 48th world conquered by the Vorthic Empire. Status report, he commanded in his harsh voice. All ships are in position, Admiral, replied his second-in-command. The humans have not responded to our ultimatum. Their time limit expires in 6 hours. Zelthron nodded with satisfaction. Begin the demonstration. Target their largest military installations. Use minimum power. We want to scare them, not destroy everything useful. The alien fleet began to move. Massive ships that had been hovering motionless over Earth cities suddenly came alive with deadly purpose. Weapon ports opened along their hulls, revealing energy cannons that could level mountains. Targeting the Pentagon, reported the weapons. Officer, charging main cannon to 10% power. But as the alien ship moved into firing position over Washington, something impossible happened. Space around the alien vessel suddenly filled with explosions. Chunks of metal and debris slammed into the ship's shields, causing them to flicker and spark. What was that? Zelthron demanded. Unknown, sir. Sensors show nothing but empty space, but were definitely taking fire. What the aliens couldn't see were the hundreds of weapon platforms that had been disguised as space junk for decades. Old satellites, abandoned rocket stages, and pieces of cosmic debris that looked harmless were suddenly revealing themselves to be sophisticated weapons. Tony Baker watched from the cockpit of his stealth fighter as the alien ship's shields took hit after hit from the hidden platforms. His ship was completely invisible to their sensors, using technology that folded space around it. "This is Ghost Leader." He spoke into his radio. "All platforms are firing. Enemy shields are down to 60%. Copy, Ghost Leader. You are cleared to engage with kinetic weapons." Tony smiled grimly and armed his ship's main gun. Unlike the energy weapons the aliens expected, this weapon fired solid metal projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. The aliens' shields were designed to stop energy beams, not chunks of metal moving at 90% of light speed. He pulled the trigger. A tungsten rod the size of a pencil shot from his ship and punched through the alien vessel's shield like it wasn't there. The projectile tore through the ship's hull, creating a hole that vented atmosphere and debris into space. "Direct hit," Tony reported. "Their shields can't stop kinetic rounds." Aboard the alien flagship, alarms were screaming. Zelthron stared at the damage reports in disbelief. His ship, which was supposed to be nearly invulnerable, had been hurt by weapons he couldn't even see. How is this possible? He demanded. "Their technology is supposed to be primitive." "Sir, we're detecting energy signatures that don't match our intelligence reports," his science officer reported. "These weapons are far more advanced than anything we observed during our reconnaissance. Then our reconnaissance was wrong. Return. Fire. Destroy whatever is attacking us." But the aliens couldn't return fire at enemies they couldn't see. Tony's squadron of stealth fighters danced around the massive alien ships, firing kinetic rounds that tore through hulls and shields. Each shot was perfectly aimed, hitting critical systems that human intelligence had identified during decades of studying crashed alien technology. Meanwhile, in orbit above the Pacific Ocean, Captain Maria Santos was having the time of her life. Her command, the orbital fortress New Gibraltar, had spent 50 years disguised as a simple asteroid mining station. Now it was unfolding like a deadly flower, revealing weapons that the aliens had never imagined. "Gravity cannons are charged and ready," her weapons officer reported. "Target the ship over Tokyo," Maria ordered. "Let's show them what real science looks like." The gravity cannon fired, sending an invisible wave of distorted spacetime toward the alien vessel. When the wave hit, the ship's own gravity suddenly increased by a factor of 10. The hull began to buckle and crack as the ship tried to tear itself apart under its own weight. "What kind of weapon is that?" The alien captain screamed as his ship folded in on itself like a crushed can. Maria watched with satisfaction as the alien ship collapsed into a ball of twisted metal. "That's what you get for threatening Earth," she muttered. Back on the flagship, Admiral Zelthron was learning that his routine conquest had become a nightmare. 3 of his ships had been destroyed by weapons he didn't understand. His sensors couldn't detect the attackers. And worst of all, his intelligence about human technology had been completely wrong. "Sir, we're receiving reports from all our ships," his communications officer said, his voice shaking. "They're all under attack by invisible enemies using unknown weapons. Impossible. Scan the entire area. Find these ships." "We've been scanning continuously, sir. Our sensors show nothing but empty space." What the aliens didn't know was that human technology had developed along completely different lines than their own. While alien science focused on energy weapons and force fields, humans had become masters of stealth, kinetic weapons, and exotic physics. Steve Carter's fighter flickered into normal space just long enough to fire a quantum torpedo, then disappeared again into a parallel dimension. The torpedo hit an alien ship and created a small black hole in its engine room, causing the entire vessel to implode. "This is Phantom Wing," Steve reported. "Target destroyed. Moving to next objective." His squadron of quantum fighters was using technology that allowed them to exist in multiple dimensions at once. They could attack from angles that didn't exist in normal space, making them impossible to defend against. How are they doing this? Admiral Zelthrin demanded as another ship vanished from his fleet. Dr. Lisa Kane's voice suddenly filled the alien bridge, broadcast on all their communication frequencies. This is Dr. Lisa Kane of Earth. You wanted to know how we're doing this? It's simple. You made one critical mistake. What mistake, human? You assumed we were primitive because we looked primitive. You've been watching us for decades, but you only saw what we wanted you to see. Every crashed ship you lost taught us more about your technology. Every scout probe we captured gave us new insights into your weaknesses. The truth was beginning to dawn on Admiral Zelthrin. You've been preparing for this. We've been preparing for this since the first alien ship crashed in our deserts 70 years ago. Did you really think we would just ignore evidence that hostile aliens existed? Humans don't work that way. When we see a threat, we prepare for it. When someone threatens us, we hit back twice as hard. Another alien ship exploded as Amy Brooks's USS Vengeance emerged from stealth long enough to fire a full spread of kinetic missiles. Each missile hit with the force of a nuclear bomb, but without the radiation. The alien ship simply ceased to exist. Sir, we've lost half our fleet, the alien communications officer reported. Request permission to withdraw. Admiral Zelthron stared at the tactical display showing his remaining ships. Red warning lights indicated damage and casualties. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were being destroyed by an enemy they couldn't even see. Denied, he said through gritted teeth. We are the Vorthek Empire. We do not retreat from primitives. With respect, sir, his second-in-command said, these humans are not primitives. They've been setting a trap for us since before their current generation was born. As if to prove his point, the space around the alien fleet suddenly filled with new contacts. Dozens of human ships decloaked simultaneously, revealing themselves in a perfect attack formation. Each ship was sleek and deadly, armed with weapons that glowed with unnatural energy. Sir, the sensor officer whispered, I'm reading. Over 200 human vessels. They were hiding right next to us the entire time. Admiral Zelthrin felt something he had never experienced before in his centuries of conquest. Fear. These humans had turned his demonstration of power into an ambush. They had been studying his tactics while he remained ignorant of theirs. All ships, he commanded, his voice barely steady. Prepare for emergency retreat. Sir, the humans are jamming our faster-than-light drives. We can't jump to safety. On the bridge of the USS Vengeance, Amy Brooks smiled. She watched the alien fleet try desperately to escape. This is Captain Brooks to all human vessels. The aliens want to leave. I think we should let them go. Why? Asked Tony Baker over the radio. Because, Amy replied, someone needs to go back and tell the rest of the galaxy what happens when you threaten Earth. The human fleet opened a corridor in their formation, just wide enough for the surviving alien ships to escape. It was a clear message. You can run, but you can't hide. Admiral Zelthron didn't hesitate. He ordered his remaining ships to flee Earth as fast as their damaged engines could carry them. As his flagship limped away from the blue planet, he realized that the Vorthek Empire had just suffered its first defeat in over 1,000 years. And it had been delivered by a species they had dismissed as primitive. 3 days after the first alien attack, President Stone stood in the Situation Room watching reports from around the world. The alien ships that had retreated from Earth were regrouping beyond the outer planets. Intelligence suggested they were calling for reinforcements. Sir, Admiral Jake Morrison said, our scouts report at least 300 alien vessels gathering near Jupiter. They're preparing for a full invasion. How long before they attack? The president asked. 48 hours, maybe less. President Stone nodded grimly. Then it's time to show them our real fleet. Deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, in a facility that had been carved from the ocean floor itself, massive doors began to open for the first time in 50 years. Water rushed out as the hidden shipyard drained, revealing humanity's greatest secret. The USS Retribution sat in its berth like a sleeping giant. The ship was over 2 kilometers long, its black hull absorbing light like a hole in space. This was not a ship built for exploration or peace. This was a weapon designed for one purpose: to destroy anything that threatened Earth. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge as his crew brought the massive ship to life. The Retribution was his flagship now, the command vessel for Earth's dark fleet. Around him, officers worked at stations that controlled weapons no other species had dared to build. "All systems are coming online, sir," reported his executive officer, Commander Lisa Hayes. "Reactor is at full power." "What's our fleet status?" Jake asked. 76 capital ships are ready for launch. 200 destroyers. 500 fighters, all equipped with weapons developed from 70 years of studying alien technology. Jake smiled grimly. The aliens thought they had faced Earth's military. They had no idea what was coming. In another part of the ship, Colonel Dan Phillips was bringing humanity's most controversial weapon online. The artificial intelligence known as Ares had been built specifically for warfare, its digital brain, filled with the tactical knowledge of every human military commander in history. "Ares is fully active," Dan reported. "All tactical databases are loaded and ready." The AI's voice filled the command center, calm and precise. "I have analyzed all available data on Vorthic military tactics. I recommend immediate deployment of planet-killer weapons to demonstrate the futility of continued aggression." Planet killers? President Stone had joined them on the bridge. "We have weapons that can destroy planets." "Yes, sir," Jake replied. "We learned how to build them from studying the wreckage of a Vorthic dreadnought that crashed in Siberia in 1962. They used them to threaten worlds into surrender." "And we're going to use them against their worlds?" "No, sir. We're going to use them against their fleet. Show them that we can destroy their ships the way they destroy planets." Captain Nina Wells had been waiting her entire career for this moment. Her ship, the USS Apocalypse, carried the most devastating weapons in Earth's arsenal. Planet cracker missiles that could split moons in half. Quantum torpedoes that attacked targets in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Energy beams that could cut through any known material. "This is Apocalypse to all ships," she broadcast to the Dark Fleet. "Weapons are charged and ready. Let's show these aliens what happens when they mess with Earth." The Dark Fleet began to emerge from hiding places around the solar system. Ships rose from underground bases on Mars. Vessels uncloaked near the asteroid belt. The Retribution led a formation of humanity's most powerful warships out of Earth's shadow and toward the gathering alien armada. "Sir," the sensor officer reported, "the aliens are detecting our approach. They're moving to intercept." "Good," Jake said. "Ares, what's their likely strategy?" The AI responded immediately. "Based on previous Vorthic tactics, they will attempt to form a battle line and engage at maximum range with energy weapons. They believe their technology is superior to ours." "Are they right?" "No, Admiral. Our weapons are approximately 400 years more advanced than their current technology. We have been developing new systems while they have remained stagnant." Engineer Ryan Clark was monitoring the quantum communication network that linked all human forces across the solar system. Unlike alien communications, which could be jammed or intercepted, the quantum network existed outside normal spacetime. "All ships are connected," Ryan reported. "We have instantaneous communication with every vessel in our fleet, regardless of distance." This was another advantage the aliens didn't know about. While their ships had to rely on slower-than-light communications during battle, human forces could coordinate their attacks perfectly in real time. "Fleet deployment is complete," Commander Hayes reported. "We have them surrounded." Jake looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was impressive. Hundreds of massive warships that had conquered dozens of worlds. But they were arranged in outdated formations, using tactics that human strategists had studied and countered decades ago. "This is Admiral Morrison to all ships," he broadcast. "You are cleared to engage. Show them why Earth is not to be threatened." Battle began with the aliens firing first, their energy weapons lighting up space with deadly beams. But their shots passed harmlessly through empty space. The human ships had cloaked themselves the moment before the attack, vanishing from alien sensors. Where did they go? Admiral Zelthron demanded from his command ship. His answer came in the form of kinetic rounds that tore through his fleet like bullets through paper. The human ships were attacking from stealth, using weapons that the alien shields couldn't stop. "Return fire," Zelthron ordered. "Target anything that moves." But the aliens were firing at ghosts. Human ships would decloak just long enough to fire, then disappear again before the aliens could respond. It was like fighting shadows. Captain Wells brought her ship out of stealth directly above the alien formation. "This is Apocalypse, firing Planet Cracker missile." The weapon that launched from her ship was the size of a small building. It streaked toward the largest alien vessel, its warhead containing enough explosive power to crack a moon. When it hit, the alien dreadnought simply vaporized, taking 3 nearby ships with it in the explosion. "Impossible," Admiral Zelthron whispered as he watched his most powerful ship disappear in a ball of fire. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "that weapon had more destructive power than our entire fleet combined." The battle was not going as the aliens had planned. They had expected to face primitive human ships with basic weapons. Instead, they were fighting an enemy that seemed to know their every move before they made it. "Ares has analyzed their battle pattern," Dan Phillips reported from the Retribution, recommending tactical shift to Formation 7. Instantly, every human ship in the fleet received new orders through the quantum network. The Dark Fleet moved as one, executing a complex maneuver that placed them in perfect position to destroy the alien rear guard. "How are they coordinating so perfectly?" the alien communications officer asked. "We're jamming all their radio frequencies." "They're not using radio," Admiral Zelthron realized with growing horror. "They have communication technology we've never seen before." The truth was worse than he knew. Not only did the humans have better communication, they had artificial intelligence directing their tactics. Ares was fighting the battle using the combined strategic knowledge of every great military commander in human history. "Alien fleet is breaking formation," the sensor officer reported. "They're trying to retreat." "Negative," Jake said firmly. "All ships, do not let them escape. If even one of their vessels gets away, they'll bring back a larger fleet." The human ships moved to surround the fleeing aliens. Quantum fighters appeared from parallel dimensions to attack from impossible angles. Stealth destroyers fired kinetic rounds that punched through alien hulls like they were made of cardboard. "Sir," Commander Hayes said quietly, "we're not just winning. We're destroying them completely." Jake nodded grimly. "That's the point. We need to send a message to the rest of the galaxy. Earth is not to be attacked. Ever." Captain Wells fired. Another Planet Cracker missile, this one splitting an alien carrier in half. The explosion lit up space like a small sun, visible from Earth itself, in the alien fleet. Panic was spreading. Ships that had conquered worlds were being destroyed by an enemy that fought like nothing they had ever encountered. Their weapons couldn't penetrate human shields. Their tactics were useless against human strategy. Their technology was centuries behind human science. "Sir," the alien communications officer said desperately, "the remaining ships are requesting permission to surrender." Admiral Zelthran stared at the tactical display. Of his 300 ships, fewer than 50 remained. The humans had destroyed his fleet using weapons and tactics that should not have existed. "Permission denied," he said bitterly. "We are Vorthik. We do not surrender. Sir, if we don't surrender, they'll kill us all." Zelthran looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They were aliens who had never known defeat, who had conquered every enemy they had ever faced. Now they were learning what it felt like to be outmatched completely. "Open a channel to the human fleet," he commanded. Jake Morrison's face appeared on the alien view screen. "This is Admiral Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. Are you ready to surrender?" "We are Vorthik," Zelthran replied. "We do not know the word surrender." "Then I guess you're about to learn it," Jake said coldly. "Surrender now, or we." The surrender of the Vorthik fleet sent shockwaves through the galaxy. For the first time in over 1,000 years, the mighty empire that had conquered 47 worlds had been defeated by a species they had dismissed as primitive. "Admiral?" Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Retribution, watching as the surviving alien ships powered down their weapons and waited for instructions. The once proud fleet that had come to conquer Earth now floated helplessly in space, their crews terrified of the humans they had tried to intimidate. "Sir," Commander Lisa Hayes reported, "we're receiving communications from across the galaxy. Every major species wants to know what happened here." "And what are we telling them?" Jake asked. "The truth. Earth is no longer a hidden world. We're letting everyone know that humanity exists and that we don't appreciate being threatened." In the communications center of the Retribution, hundreds of messages were flooding in from alien governments across the galaxy. The Galactic Council was demanding an explanation. Trading empires were asking about opening diplomatic relations. Military alliances were requesting details about human weapons, technology, but the most important message came from the Vorthik homeworld itself. Emperor Krex appeared on the main screen, his ancient face showing an emotion no Vorthik ruler had ever displayed before: fear. "This is Emperor Krex of the Vorthik Empire. We ... We wish to discuss terms." President Stone, who had traveled to the Retribution for this historic moment, stepped forward. "This is President Richard Stone of Earth. What terms did you have in mind?" "We offer a peace treaty. Our empire will not threaten your world again. In exchange, you will return our surviving ships and crews." "That's a start," President Stone replied. "But it's not enough." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "What more do you want?" "Reparations," Dr. Lisa Kane said, stepping into view. "Your empire has terrorized the galaxy for centuries. It's time to pay for those crimes. We will not pay tribute to a primitive species." "Primitive?" Jake Morrison laughed coldly. "Your Highness, we just destroyed 2/3 of your fleet using weapons you didn't even know existed. I don't think we're the primitive ones here." On his home world, Emperor Krex was facing the worst crisis in Vorthik history. His admirals were reporting that human technology was centuries ahead of their own. His scientists were demanding access to the wreckage of the defeated ships to study human weapons. His military commanders were admitting that the Empire could not win a war against Earth. "What do you propose?" the Emperor asked reluctantly. "Simple," President Stone replied. "Your empire will release every world you've conquered. Your ships will withdraw to your home system, and you will broadcast a message to the entire galaxy explaining that Earth is under human protection." "Impossible. We cannot simply abandon our empire." "You can and you will," Jake said firmly. "Because if you don't, we'll come to your home world and take it from you." To prove his point, Jake gestured to the tactical display behind him. It showed the positions of human ships throughout the solar system. But now it also showed something else. Human vessels at the edge of Vorthik space, having traveled there. Faster than light using technology the aliens couldn't understand. How? Emperor Krex whispered. How are your ships already at our borders? We've been watching you for 70 years, Dr. Kane explained. We know the location of every Vorthik world, every military base, every important installation. We've been preparing for this war since before you knew we existed. The truth was that human faster-than-light technology was completely different from alien science. While the Vorthik used predictable jump points that could be detected and blocked, human ships traveled through folded space using quantum tunnels that were invisible to alien sensors. Captain Amy Brooks was leading a small fleet of human ships in orbit around the Vorthik homeworld itself. Her orders were simple. Demonstrate that Earth could strike anywhere in the galaxy without warning. This is Captain Brooks to the Vorthik capital, she broadcast. We are currently in orbit above your planet. Our weapons are charged and ready. We suggest you consider Earth's terms very carefully. On the surface of the Vorthik home world, billions of aliens looked up at the sky and saw human ships that shouldn't have been able to reach them. The sight of alien vessels in their own sky filled them with the same terror that humans had felt just days before. Sir, reported Captain Brooks's tactical officer, we're detecting massive civilian panic on the planet's surface. Their government is broadcasting emergency messages telling people to remain calm. Good, Amy replied grimly. Now they know how it feels to be threatened by a superior force. Back on the Retribution, negotiations were continuing. But they weren't really negotiations anymore. They were humanity dictating terms to a defeated empire. We have another demand, President Stone said. We want access to all Vorthik databases containing information about other species in the galaxy. We want to know who else might threaten Earth. That information is classified at the highest levels of government. Not anymore, Jake said. You lost the right to keep secrets when you attacked our world. Emperor Krex looked around his throne room at his advisors. They all wore the same expression of defeat and humiliation. The mighty Vorthik Empire, which had terrorized the galaxy for 1,000 years, was being forced to surrender everything to a species they had known about for less than a week. We accept your terms, the Emperor said finally. Excellent, President Stone replied. You have 72 hours to begin withdrawing from conquered worlds. For every hour you're late will destroy one of your remaining ships. The transmission ended, leaving Emperor Krex staring at a blank screen. Around him, his advisors began the painful process of dismantling an empire that had taken centuries to build. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the news of humanity's victory was spreading faster than light. The Galactic Council was calling emergency sessions. Trading federations were canceling all agreements with the Vorthik Empire. Former victims of Vorthak conquest were celebrating their freedom. But not everyone was happy about Earth's victory. On the bridge of a hidden space station, Admiral Thyros of the Andromedan Republic was watching reports of the battle with growing concern. His species had been the galaxy's dominant military power until they were forced to disarm after using planet-killing weapons in their last war. Sir, his aide reported, the humans used planet cracker missiles against the Vorthik fleet. That technology was supposed to be banned. The humans weren't part of the treaty that banned those weapons, Admiral Thyros replied. They never agreed to our rules. What does this mean for us? It means the galaxy has a new dominant power. And unlike us, they've never been forced to limit their weapons development. Admiral Thyros stared at the tactical reports showing the destruction of the Vorthik fleet. The humans had won using technology that was decades ahead of anything the galaxy had seen before. They had fought a battle using tactics that no one had anticipated. "Sir, what are our orders?" "We watch and wait," Admiral Thyros said. "And we hope that the humans are more reasonable than we were when we had unlimited power." Back on Earth, the celebrations were just beginning. For the first time in human history, the entire planet was united. The threat from space had brought together nations that had been enemies for centuries. President Stone addressed the world from the United Nations building, with representatives from every country on Earth standing behind him. "Today, humanity took its place among the stars," he announced. "We have shown the galaxy that Earth will not be conquered, not be enslaved, not be threatened. We are no longer hiding in the shadows. We are here, and we are not going anywhere." In the crowd of world leaders, there were faces from every nation, every culture, every background. But they all shared the same expression of pride and determination. Earth had been threatened, and Earth had responded with overwhelming force. "But this is just the beginning," President Stone continued. "The galaxy is full of species that prey on the weak, that conquer the defenseless. That ends now. Earth's fleet will protect any world that asks for our help." Admiral Morrison stood beside the president, wearing the uniform of Earth's new interstellar Navy. Behind him, through the windows of the UN building, the lights of human ships could be seen moving across the sky as they departed for patrol missions throughout the galaxy. "The age of human isolation is over," Jake announced. "We are no longer just the inhabitants of one small planet. We are the guardians of freedom in this galaxy." Dr. Kane stepped forward to add her own message. "For 70 years, we prepared for this day in secret. We studied our potential enemies, developed superior technology, and trained the finest military force the galaxy has ever seen. The aliens thought they were attacking a primitive world. Instead, they found themselves facing the most dangerous species in the galaxy." As the celebration continued on Earth, Captain Brooks's fleet was already at work in the Vorthix system. Human ships were ensuring that the aliens kept their word about withdrawing from conquered worlds. Any ship that moved too slowly received a warning shot that reminded them of Earth's firepower. "This is the USS Vengeance to all Vorthix vessels," Amy broadcast. "You have 68 hours remaining to complete your withdrawal from conquered territories. We will be watching." The Vorthix ships moved quickly,